I would like to show you this little thing, which is an operation on a rat under a magnification of 400. And I'm showing it because it's bloodless, so I hope it doesn't shock anybody. This is an almost 100% reliable model of a rat that is sick, has a kidney disease, has a kidney insufficiency. And we were proud enough to present this model, and we are starting clinical trials with medication, with perivascular or endovascular therapies, new stents, and such things. We need more of that. So, tailor-made to patients' medicine, we extract information from bioinformatics, from cell culture studies, and from mouse studies, mutants. And then comes the industrial and the academic research and development, and the application in vitro and in vivo models. After that, the WHO tells us, depending on our results, whether we are allowed on trial or application to humans. And there I come to the responsibility part that Inez has so much emphasized, which I absolutely agree with. And for example, to research and development from our university, I'll show you some graphs that we have developed in sheep, and we know they work in humans. And this is for us applied medicine, applied research. We have used information from genetic information or any information that we needed. We constructed our animal model, and we have something that we can supply our patient with. Namely, here you see, we have the artificial carotis, the technically engineered carotis, and the native carotis, the vessel that is here, and very often in older people is responsible for infarcts in the brain. We replaced it, the native, and then if I go to the next slide, in day 0, in day 184, and in day 184 with an open, here, it remains open, which basically is what is required, what the patient requires. I want to live longer, and I want to live a good life longer. So questions arising for us, applied scientists, is the cost effectiveness of research and development to application. It's a big question, always. The insurance cost effectiveness to patient service, because in the end effect, somebody has to buy it. Is he in a position to? Who pays for that? The limits to the application, like the age, the clinical condition, and, if we like it or not, the economics. And my question is there maybe a need greater than ever for cross-national institutions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for a very impressive and informative presentation. I learned a great deal. I didn't understand much, though. I pass the floor to His Eminence, Professor Elpidophoros Lambriniadis, who is the Secretary of the Holy Synod at the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Constantinople, these days Istanbul, who is also an associate professor at the University of Thessaloniki and a very active member of the Interfaith Dialogue and of the World Council of Churches. Both of these institutions are very important NGOs, John. If you will, they accentuate the view that churches and religions can be very powerful NGOs, because the interfaith dialogue is the forum for Christians to talk to Muslims, and it's the forum for Christianity to talk to Judaism and Islam, and I think that's a very good thing. And also for the Christian churches, and Christianity is a deeply divided religion, to talk to themselves. Professor Lambriniadis.
Thank you, moderator. Mr. Elpidophoros, reverend audience, distinguished academics and friends. Well, I have to confess I feel bad, like every priest, addressing such an audience. First of all, because priests and religious persons tend to talk a lot, to hold long speeches. And I confess that having accepted to address you, I did not know my time limitations. I tried to shorten my presentation, and I ask for your understanding, but I promise that I will reward you at the end with a story that my professor told me about the techniques of homiletics at the University of Thessaloniki. My talk has the topic about the personhood in an age of biotechnology. It is a great honor to stand before you today to present a topic which has been discussed from a wide array of spectrums in recent years, yet which has continued to be of relevance to humanity through the ages. Personhood is a term used freely by contemporary theologians, philosophers, ethicists, sociologists, physiologists, economists. The list could go on. Though it is indeed a convoluted term, and though experts approach the topic from various vantage points, we can often more easily agree on what personhood is not. Nonetheless, even when we are able to agree on what remains outside the sphere of personhood, there still remains plenty of room for debate and disagreement. Of course, such discussion does not occur in a vacuum. When we speak about persons, we invariably refer to certain kinds of individuals or groups. For example, the majority of people are inclined to agree that inanimate objects or animals do not possess personhood, but that human beings are indeed persons. It is quite easy for us to make such a determination when comparing among the different species. However, the same cannot be said when we compare individuals from one and the same species, namely humankind. As a way of clarifying my point, consider the following. If we ask everyone in the audience today to raise their hand if they believe that human beings are persons, we will likely have an unanimous vote. However, if we ask how many people believe that a fetus is a person, we might have less hands being raised. It was obvious by the previous presentations. Furthermore, if we ask people to consider the status of a patient in a persistent vegetative state, we might have even less people clearly recognizing the presence of personhood. These examples are intended to assist in focusing our attention on the specific perspective from which I hope to analyze the notion of personhood today. Specifically, we shall explore how biotechnology has come to influence the way people have formulated alternative understandings of personhood from the basic tenets of the Orthodox Church. Our presentation is therefore divided into two sections. First, I will offer a brief review of the historical and theological meaning of personhood. With this as the backdrop for our discussion, I will then examine the beginning and the end of human life, as well as explore how biotechnology can, at least potentially, lead to a distorted image of personhood. As we know, relationships play a vital role in the lives of human beings. Throughout a person's life, that is to say, from the moment of conception all the way to the hour of death. An individual comes into contact with various forms of communities and experiences endless interactions with others. Such relationships influence and mold each of us into the persons we are. One may benefit greatly or else suffer deeply from relationships that one forms with others. Consistent throughout the broad range of relationships that we may potentially establish is the fact that these relationships contribute to the shaping of our personality. In other words, human relationships, whether positive or negative, help make us the persons we are. However, it is important to recall that the notion of personhood in Orthodox theology does not develop out of any abstract discourse or intellectual speculation about the nature of humanity. In other words, humanity does not turn exclusively to itself in order to gain a better appreciation of what it means to be a person. Rather, the meaning of personhood stems directly from the diverse Christological and Trinitarian controversies that challenged Christendom in its formative years. We may then state with certainty that the Church's faith in a single God, revealed as a loving communion of three divine persons, directly and profoundly influenced the development and understanding of human personhood. The basic theological tenet of faith, namely that man is created in the image and likeness of God, allows us to conclude that a human being exists as a person if he or she can achieve the same mode of existence as the divine persons in the Trinity. In the words of His All Holiness the Ecumenical Patriarch, I cite, "Each human person is uniquely created in the image of God, never able to be reduced to anything less than a mystery." End of quotation. Thus, Orthodox theology recognizes that the primary source for our own mode of existence lies in the triune God. The personal relationship that each person of the Trinity has with each other serves as the model for whole humanity. In fact, the personal relationships, σχέσεις, between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit provide an insight into how God exists and how human persons ought to exist. Moreover, outside of each person's relationship to the other person, one cannot comprehend the Trinity itself, or more precisely, as noted by a leading Orthodox theologian of our time, none of the three persons can be conceived without reference to the other two, both logically and ontologically. Endowed with the image of God, with a tendency for interpersonal communion, one may conclude that each human person can only exist as a person when fully engaged and committed to the relationship confirmed with the others. Just as a relational mirror, then one reflects the other's self and allows the other to penetrate the depth of his or her own personhood.